In this video, I want to look at creating HTML forms. Forms are something that we all use, whether it's to log into a service or sign up for a service. Any of those forms that we fill out, those are HTML forms. So here I have just a basic template file. And to add a form, I'm going to need to add this form element using these form tags. The form tags, by default, if you don't set the method and action, it's going to have an action of whatever page the form is on, and the method will default to get. So method equals get, and action equals, I'm just going to have it post or put the data to this page for now. Now inside of your form element, you're going to have a number of different elements, field sets, legends, labels, all kinds of different things depending on what you need to ask of your users. So just so that we can look at a few things, I'm going to add in a label element and an input element so that we can see some of the differences of the get and post methods that we could use. So label for fname, first name, then I'm going to put that on a new line. Input type equals text. Now the ID of this element needs to match whatever you have up here in the for attribute of the label. So for fname, and then the name of the element, that's going to be how the data is labeled when it gets sent to wherever you're sending it to handle that data. So for this case, I'm going to just use fname. We can save this, load it up in the browser, and we see that we have this heading that we have on the page, the label, and the input element that we have with the type equals text. We can't really do anything with this yet because we don't have any buttons on the page, so I'm going to add one real quick. So below this, I'm going to add this input type equals submit, value equals whatever text I want to display on that button. And then I have a submit button. So when we refresh the page, we have this submit here. Now this is what I wanted to look at, why we need to think about whether we're using get or post. The get method is going to, when you submit the form, it's going to append this data to the end of the URL. So when I hit submit, we can see we have this fname equals Aaron at the end of the URL. That's because we used a get method for that. Where if we change this to post, save it, refresh our browser, put something in here, submit, then we're just getting the hashtag for using that hashtag as the action of the form. We're not getting any data in that URL. You really need to think about how you're going to submit the data, what kind of data that you're collecting. If it's a bunch of personal identifying information or anything sensitive, you certainly do not want to use the get method. You want to use post. It's more secure. You're not putting that data at the end of a URL that could easily be sniffed out. And it's just going to work better for you for the most part as far as processing the data. Something like a Google search form, if you go to google.com, I'll just type in Google, and we can see up here this question mark, and we have this long query string because that form that we use to search for that is using the get attribute or the get method. So it's adding that to the end of the browser. It's just a simple search, nothing that really needs to be hidden. So that's not a big deal. Where if you're taking in names, addresses, phone numbers, things like that, you're going to want to obscure that from anybody trying to sniff out that data. And using the post method is much more secure for handling that. In the next video, we're going to start looking at input fields and other form fields that we can use to collect data from our users.